Hi, my name is Sarah Winkleman, and I studied torture in Mexico. So the question I was trying to answer was, how does globalization affect the human rights violation within Mexico? And what I found, my main answer that I found was that Mexico doesn't have an incentive to stop what they're doing because countries still continue to work with them. So the United States, for example, still has an open trade policy with Mexico. Their leaders still have an open diplomacy, and they're very cordial with one another. So Mexico doesn't have a reason to stop their human rights violations because there are no consequences for them doing so. Like I said, I was studying torture in Mexico, which torture is a form of human rights violations. So I'm going to be focusing on that. And I also found the majority of the tortures were women. So I'm going to use that as a general term, but I'm sure that it happens to men as well. So this torture happens from unwarranted arrests and imprisonment without cause. So an article that I read was about a woman who was just in her home with her young children, and military personnel and police officers busted into her home, broke her door down, took her and raped her in front of her young children, and took her hundreds of miles away from her family and friends. And this woman, who is still alive and in prison, still, she is a single poor mother who only has her own mother to take care of her young children. So there's no one there supporting her family because she's gone and her young children are suffering because of it. So this woman was also pregnant at the time, and she was raped during the arrest. She lost the baby, which is traumatic enough, and then to be taken away from her family and friends. Just terrible situation overall. A lot of times the women are held incommunicado at military bases or illegal detention sites. So they can't even tell their family and friends and let them know that they are alive and as okay as they mentally are. Just tell them that they're alive and just let them know, but they can't even do that. Many times the women are illegally imprisoned and tortured because the government needs to raise their arrest numbers. So the government will set a quota of how many arrests the police officers and military personnel need to have for a certain month or year, however they set it up. And the government and the police officers and military personnel will just go in and start randomly arresting people because they just need to meet those quotas in their arrest numbers, which is very unfortunate. And these torture and denial of these women's human rights these women's rights to life and liberty, which are basic human rights, and they're being denied those rights. So it's a violation of their human rights, which is a big issue. So it was a very large-scale issue as well. So 72% of women said that they were sexually abused soon or during or soon after the arrest. So almost 3/4 of women who have been arrested, have been sexually abused during or soon after the arrest. It's just so hard to comprehend what a big number of women that is. It's very terrible. And many times these women are being sexually abused not only for the police officers' pleasure or the military personnel's pleasure and to show their dominance, but also to obtain confessions and to extract information. So the women sometimes will just say any information or confess anything just so that the abuse will end. 44,390 ongoing investigations into alleged cases of torture are currently going on. And just between a short time, so 10 months, court ordered more than 750 criminal investigations into allegations of torture. So it just proves what a large-scale problem this is within internal Mexico politics. And like I said, the reason it's internal Mexico politics is because of those arrest quotas that the government is making. Many times the investigators, because the courts are ordering investigators to go in and try to find these people that were abusing these civilians. So the investigators can't even find the people, the abusers and the torturers who were arresting the civilians. Well, unfortunately, the women who were tortured and abused can't even get the satisfaction of knowing that their abuser is being convicted or in jail or anything because the investigators can't even find them. Right here, there's a small little chart that I made from an article I read. So it talks about the prison population who experienced violence during their arrests. 57.8% of the prison population experienced some sort of violence during the arrest, whether it was all three of them or just one of them. They experienced some sort of violence during the arrest, which is absolutely terrible. So 36% said they were choked, forced underwater, or smothered. 19% said they experienced electrical shocks, and 28% experienced threatened or harm to their family. So like I said, very large scale number of people who are being affected by this torture and abuse during arrests. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we can stop this torture in Mexico sometime soon so that no other woman has to go through this again.